Hello, welcome to Alchemy Animation. It is the 9th part of a series called The Invisible Princess is Bored Again Today. Let's begin. Joseph said, "What's important is how you feel, my lady." Helena asked how I feel. He asked, did it feel unpleasant and scary when he confessed to you? Or did it please you and make you tremble in delight? And the most crucial thing is how your heart accepts this situation. After hearing this, her eyes opened very widely, and she was thinking that, my heart, how do I feel about him? At the night, Helena was seeing a dream of her past life, in which Gray came towards her and asked, "Are you alright, your majesty?" She replied, "Well, I'm fine. I'm not happy about how they treat their guests though." She was attacked by few people. Gray was very angry after seeing this, and then he said, "I will call someone to clean this up." She looked towards him and said, "Then can you ask them to bring me a glass of water as well?" He replied, "I will fetch that for you." With a smile she said, "I'm not troubling you, am I?" He replied, "I don't mind. I can certainly do that much for you. That's the kind of relationship we have." After hearing this in a confused state, she asked, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Pardon?" She said, "I'm just curious. What do you mean by this is the kind of thing?" "Because this is the kind of thing my family sends my way, every time they tried to kill me. You and I are not even family, so it makes me wonder what kind of relationship we have that makes you say something like that." With a blushy face he said, "Perhaps we are something like friends, your majesty." And then at the current time, Helena suddenly woke up. She was grabbing her pillow very tightly and thinking that, not again. I can't believe I dreamt about my previous life again. She was saying, this is all Caesar's fault. I have not had a single peaceful night's sleep because of that rascal. On the next day, Helena was talking to a lady. The lady said, "This may be an impertinent question, but are you rating His Highness by any chance?" After hearing this, Helena was shocked. She shouted, "Excuse me." The lady said, "Why are you so surprised? Is it something you can't tell me?" When Helena was about to reply, the sweat was coming out of her face and she was not able to reply. In a wavering voice she said, "Not yet," and then she sit on the floor and clearly said, "Not yet." The lady took a deep breath and said, "I see very well. I requested a meeting with you today because His Majesty wishes to hold a party at the palace to recognize the monster extermination mission." Helena said, "A party at the palace? That already sounds like a bother," the lady replied. "I'm considering being in charge of party planning, invitation and organizing. What do you think?" Helena said, "It sounds good. I will leave it to you." On the other side, Caesar was standing outside and he was training himself. But then after seeing Helena, he said her name. In a sweet voice he said, "How long have you been there?" "Give me a minute, I will be right there." After hearing this, Helena's face becomes totally red, and the lady replied, "You said you two are not dating yet, but I think it will happen soon." With a smile the lady said, "You will be very busy after this party, so enjoy the free time you have now." While covering her face, Helena was thinking that, what exactly am I supposed to enjoy? At the night she came back to her room. She was thinking that I keep having these weird dreams because people keep telling me these things. In a wavering voice she said, "This is driving me nuts. At this rate I will be having weird dreams tonight too. How did I end up liking that little brat?" She was thinking that, how can you call me shameless, my good friend? And there is nothing I should be able to say that. On the next day, the day was very peaceful, but then suddenly someone shouted, "Oh goodness, my lady!" It was Agathe. She saw Helena in a very dazed state. She said, "Were you sick all night? Why do you look so gaunt?" In a low power voice Helena replied, "Good morning." Agathe said, "First please worship with this warm water. We will need more wood, would not be. I will also bring you some ginger tea on my way back." Helena looked towards her and said, "It's okay, Agathe. Agathe said, please get under the blankets for now, you are sick. Helena said, I am fine. But before she can complete her sentence, Agathe left in a hurry state. After a few minutes, Agathe prepared everything from tea, fire, clothes and everything. She prepared herself, she prepared Helena. Helena said, I have so many layers on that I can't bend my arms. Agathe replied, that's better than catching a cold. She took out one more cloth and said, here, this really is the last one. Helena said, what, another one? But I will be indoors the whole time. After hearing this, Agathe went silent and said, but still. Helena was looking at her and thinking that she's been like this ever since the last monster extermination session. She seems to be extremely guilty for the injuries I sustained. She took a deep breath and said, that really is the last one, right? After hearing this, Agathe became happy and said, yes, ma'am. While she was wearing it, Helena was thinking that I will just have to go along with her stubbornness for now. Because it's probably not a good idea to tell her that Caesar confessed to me, right? Because every time they met they start fighting each other, so let's not tell her. After all, the crown prince's life is precious thing. After preparing her, Agathe said, all done, my lady. Now Helena is completely warm and full of clothes. Agathe said, I made a lot of ginger tea, so please drink it every night before you go to bed. And if you feel any discomfort during the meeting, please call me. While going away, Helena said, all right, I will do it. Agathe said, will you be okay to go to the study room by yourself? Helena said, I told you not to worry. I can see well now, so I'm fine. And when she was about to open the door, she looked towards Agathe and said, I will be back. And I'm looking forward to finding out why the Margrave summoned me so urgently. After a while she entered into the room. Caesar was sitting there. He said, there you are, Helena. What took you so long? Then he noticed that Helena was wearing so many layers of cloth. She was just looking like a snowman. She sat down on the chair and said, I apologize for being late, my lord. With a sweaty face, the Margrave was looking at her and said, that's quite all right. I heard you are heading back tomorrow. Caesar replied, yes. Thank you for your hospitality during our stay, Margrave. With a smile, the Margrave replied, no, we should be the ones to thank you. Monster cost harm has noticeably decreased since your arrival. Thanks to that, the residents are able to live in peace. He bowed in front of them and said, it's all thanks to you. I don't know how I can repay you for this favor. Caesar tilted down a bit and said, you don't need to worry about it so much. When I see my people facing difficulties, I don't dismiss it, nor do I pretend to not have seen it. The Margrave said, if there is something I can do for you, your highness, I will do anything. Caesar smiled a bit and said, how very reassuring. It feels as though I have gained an entire army. The Margrave said, on that note, your highness, there is something I should like to show you. He looked towards his butler and said, fetch that item. The butler replied, yes, my lord, I have already instructed the others to bring it. It will be here soon. Helena was looking at them and wondering that what could it be. Some of the knights came towards them with a big box. Helena was looking at it and thinking that it doesn't look that heavy, but why is it being carried by 3 knights rather than servants? But then she noticed it. She was thinking that it's an animal hide and stamp on it is the same as the one I saw. Suddenly she was feeling uneasiness, and her heart was beating very fastly. She touched her chest and thinking that this sensation is something I've definitely felt before. In a rush, Caesar came towards her and said, Helena, what happened? You are not looking good. Are you feeling unwell? She came back to her senses and said, no, I'm fine. She was thinking that fortunately, the pain did not last too long this time. And what the heck is that? Why is it making me react this way? Joseph said, just from its shape it looks like a magic circle. The Margrave replied, let me tell you about it. That mark was on the belly of the Lucrocoda we captured during the last hunt. We found the same symbol on the WYRM's skin. Both monsters were branded with this symbol. It looked suspicious, so I sent it to the Magic Academy and asked them to look into it. The mark? Joseph asked, what did they say? The Margrave replied that the thing is, they said they don't know. After hearing it, all of them said, what? The Margrave replied, I sent it there because I thought it was related to magic. But they informed me that the character on the marking is not runic. Caesar asked, then what is it? The Margrave replied, my guess is that this has something to do with the Church of Draco. With a sweaty face, Joseph said, you mean the religion you mentioned before, the one that reversed dragons? In a low voice, the Margrave replied, yes. After the church appearance, the number of monsters increased, and a mark I have never seen before was found on not one, but 2 monsters. Based on the circumstances, I believe that's sufficient to be suspicious of the order. Helena was listening very carefully, and then she asked, do you think that mark has an ability that allows someone else to control the monsters? The Margrave replied, I'm not sure. If the character had been runic, I would have tried to decipher it, but since it's not, there is no way to tell. Joseph said, then can't we just summon the leader of the Church of Draco and question them? The Margrave shook his head and said, we don't have any solid evidence, so it would only create hostility. But then suddenly Helena realized something. She was thinking that maybe that person might know something about this. She asked, can I make a copy of the marking, my lord? In a surprised state, Margrave said, please be my guest. Caesar asked, what are you going to do with a copy of it? She looked towards him with a smile and said, that's a secret, your highness. She asked, may I have a piece of paper and a pen? The Margrave said, of course, here you are, and then she drew it on the paper. After completing the drawing, she was looking at it and thinking that, I don't know what it is, but I experience pain whenever I see it. This is definitely something serious. Maybe it is related to me somehow. On the next day they were leaving the castle. The Margrave said, it was a short time, but thank you very much for everything. Helena looked towards him and said, thank you for your hospitality. I hope we have the opportunity to meet again in the future. The Margrave said, yes, I shall await that day, and then all of them left. Helena was looking outside of the window. She was thinking that I did not feel anything the first time I came to the capital. But was it always like this? It feels lively and warm. Caesar asked, Helena, what's so amusing? Helena replied, what do you mean? He said, you have been staring out the window for a while now, so I was wondering what you were so amused by. Agat was sleeping and Helena still doesn't understand what he's saying. He smiled while looking at her and said, never mind, I'm sorry for bothering you. She again started to look outside of the window and said, really, now you are so lame. However, after a while Caesar was still staring at her, and Helena was feeling uncomfortable. She looked towards him and said, what now? Why the heck are you staring at me like that? With a smile he said, why do you even ask? I am always looking only at you, Helena. After hearing this, her face became totally red due to the blushiness. He closed his eyes and said, if it makes you uncomfortable, I will close my eyes. How is this? She started to clench her clothes and thinking that, I'm glad Agat is asleep. If she were awake she would have caught me blushing. She was wondering that, will it seem suspicious if I keep my hand down like this? She looked outside and thinking that, it's probably better for me to look outside the window again, like I'm perfectly fine. But then suddenly she noticed something. She was thinking that, what's that? Why are so many people gathered there? The person who was standing in front of all of them, that person was saying, "The dragon is our God, our savior, and our monarch." After hearing this, Helena was repeating this line and thinking that, wait a minute, I have heard something similar before. That day, No said, "I have been waiting so long for you to be born, our one true monarch." Helena said, "Could that be the Church of Draco?" Caesar looked outside and said, "I think you are right, shall we head over there?" Suddenly Helena banged at the chariot window. A god woke up and said, "My lady, what happened?" Helena said, "A god protect the chariot for a bit. I will be right back." In a shocked state, a god said, "Pardon, where are you suddenly off to?" "I will go with you, my lady." However, Helena grabbed her sword and said, "No, you are going to protect the chariot." Caesar stood up and said, "I will go with her, so don't worry." Agat said, "All right, be safe, my lady." Both of them covered themselves and Helena said, "We will be back, so don't worry." They were standing and listening what that person was saying. The woman said, "Believe in our Savior, the dragon. I used to have a sickness that gave me bruises all over my body and wounds that would not stop bleeding. But I was cured once I started believing in the dragon. Even physician had given up on me, but I was completely healed as a result of the Dragon Lord's grace." Helena said, "Okay, the Dragon Lord." Caesar replied, "She's probably referring to the leader of the church." The woman shouted, "Everyone says the Dragon Lord is a con artist, but only the ignorant says things like this. They healed me and did not charge me a single coin. They said it was the blessing that the dragon granted far and wide." Helena was looking very sharply at her and thinking that a dragon saving and blessing people? It was total opposite from the reality. Because in the past time the dragon was destroying the city, and the people were shouting for help and they were saying, "It's a dragon, dragons appeared, please spare me." Dragons annihilated humans and stole all kinds of things. They are not the kind of creature that should be the object of such faith and trust. The people were shouting, "The dragon will soon return." After hearing this with a smile, the woman said, "That's right, everyone, our God, our Savior, our monarchs will return." The tears were coming out of her eyes. Helena was looking around herself and thinking that I don't need to hear this anymore. I better head back. But then suddenly she noticed someone. It was Noah. After noticing it, Noah turned away from her. Helena was shouting her name and said, "Stop right there, Noah." She was trying to move towards Noah, but the people were coming in her way. She was thinking that, damn it, I can't get out because of all these people. I can't let him get away. I need to get out of here now. Caesar shouted, "Helena, where are you going?" However, she was not replying, and then suddenly, her hood removed from her head. One of the person grabbed her hand and said, "Hey, what's the hurry? You look like an aristocrat." However, she was still trying to run. He said, "Didn't your mother ever tell you not to go around these places alone? All other people are chattering and talking about her." And Helena was thinking that I don't see Noah. Did I lose him or was I mistaken? But even if that had been Noah, what would I have done when I should come face to face with him? The person said, "What brings a delicate, noble young lady like you to this filthy alleyway? You don't know what kind of trouble you will end up here." And then suddenly Caesar kicked him and grabbed Helena in his arms. That person fall on the ground. Caesar said, "Sorry for interrupting your get-together. I apologize, so it's fine, right? Or do you still have something to say to me?" He was glaring at him with an anger. In a fear, the person said, "Not at all." And then Caesar left with Helena. In the evening, Caesar asked, "Helena, are you all right?" She replied, "Yes, I'm fine." He took a deep breath and said, "What on earth did you see earlier that startled you so much? And who is this Noah that you kept calling for?" She replied, "Oh, it's just someone I know, but I think I was mistaken. He said, well, that was anticlimactic, you scared me. Helena was thinking that yes. When I think about it now, it makes no sense. It's been 10 years, so how can he still look the same? So I'm sure I was mistaken. Few days passed, and she was thinking that a lot of things changed after I returned to the capital. Leonard graduated from the academy, and he will be the vice commander of the Red Knights next spring. As for me, I officially became the Crown Prince Swordsmanship Instructor. Yes, the Crown Prince Swordsmanship Instructor. I'm pretty sure that's my title. The other Red Knights trainee whom she met at the monster extermination time, with a sparkly eye, they were saying, Captain, I heard you are here as the Swordsmanship Instructor. So you are teaching us too, right? I'm so happy. Helena was thinking that, you have got to be kidding me. Where did things go wrong? And then I ended up becoming an instructor for the training knights as well because of Joseph. Earlier, Joseph told her that all of this is to secure her position. It's a way to grow His Highness' power, and few things more. She was thinking that he asked with such a sad puppy face that I could not refuse. One of the knight asked, Instructor, does that mean you will be here permanently? She replied, yes, I suppose that's how it will be. That knight heart was beating very fastly after hearing this, and his face was also become red. He said, does that mean you will take us on as your pupils too? They came very close to her. With a sweaty face, she was thinking that what is happening, and no, I was only going to do minor things like corrective stances and such. She said, all right, calm down. But then suddenly someone came from behind of her. It was Caesar. He said, I see that you are also confident in your abilities that you dare ask to be her pupil. After hearing this, all of the knights become scared. With a shivering voice they said, Your Highness? Caesar said, you want to be her pupil. Okay, if you can survive a fight against me, I will allow you to become my pupil. And then with a scary face he said, Of course I doubt you will be able to survive. With a trembling body, all of them were hugging each other and saying, Your Highness, that's scary. Helena was looking at Caesar and thinking that, he's going to kill someone at this rate. She said, My dear pupil. With a soft and bright smile, Caesar said, Yes, Sword Master. She said, Stop picking a fight, and have you warmed up? He replied, Not yet, I just got here. She said, In that case, and then she stopped talking. Caesar's heart was beating very fastly due to this. And then she said, Let's all begin by running 30 laps around the training yard. After hearing this, that all of the knights are also going to exercise with him, he was looking at them. Helena said, Start running now. After a while, Caesar completed his running, and on the other side, all of the knights were feeling too tired. Helena looked towards them and said, It's too early for you to be exhausted now. It's time to do 100 upward swings. One of the knights said, 100? Another one said, Sword Master, please spare us, it's too much. Caesar was wiping his sweat. Helena said, What? You want to do it 200 times? In a loud voice the knights replied, No ma'am, we will do 100. Caesar was staring at her and said, Why are they calling you Sword Master? You should have properly turned them down earlier. She asked, What do you mean? He replied, You know when they asked if they can call you Sword Master? While scratching her hair she said, Oh, is that really necessary? I think it's fine to leave them. He came close to her and said, No, only the 3 of us are your pupils. She was looking at his face and thinking that, Caesar, you look like you were ready to kill someone just a few minutes ago, but now you are acting like a petulant kid. Did you think I should find that cute? However, in reality, she already finds it cute. With a blushy face she said, You really are something. Do you like me that much? After hearing it with a blushy face, Caesar said, Don't ask something so obvious. I don't want to share you with anyone else. She said, "Okay, very well. If you can beat me just once in 5 rounds, then I will let you have a monopoly on me. What do you say? Are you interested, my dear pupil?" But then suddenly he attacked her. She defended it perfectly, and looking at him, he said, "You better not take that back." With a smile, Helena said, "You are pretty confident, are not you?" He replied, "You are my sword master, and I find you the most lovable when you are holding up your sword." Helena said, "Is that so? Then let's see if you can say the same thing." And then they started to spar with each other. She said, "Even when you're laying flat on your back, could you say the same thing?" And then their sparring begins. They were using very unique and different moves in sparring. He was totally focused on defeating her. She was thinking that, "I knew it. His skills have improved. He might actually beat me this time." They were clashing, but then suddenly, when she was about to strike him, he pushed his elbow in front of it. After seeing it, she paused for a moment, and thinking that it's dangerous, so she stopped. But then suddenly he grabbed her in his arms, and holding her in the air. She said, "You can't block a sword with your own body. That was dangerous." With a smile he said, "Look who is talking. You can't let down your guard while sparring. It's not like you, sword master." In an anger she was hitting him and saying, "You dummy. Were you trying to hurt your arm again?" With a crying face he said, "Wait," and then he leave her. With a sad face he said, "I almost died just now." She was thinking, that almost died? Do you want me to show you what almost dying really feels like? He was looking at her and said, "Helena, what do you mean?" But then he noticed she was in anger, and totally prepared to attack him. She said, "How dare you make fun of your sword master?" He was trying to calm her and said, "Helena, calm down for a sec." And then again they started to spar. After a while Helena was taking a bath and saying that, "I feel refreshed after that bout." She was thinking that, little punk, how could he pull that cheap trick? It's a good thing we were just sparring. If it had been a real fight, his arm would have been totally destroyed. But then again, he was not just pulling out cheap tricks the whole time. His skills have vastly improved from before. And if Caesar beats me one day, I wonder how I should feel then. She tightened her fist and thinking that, what if he becomes stronger than me? But then suddenly she realized that she had been thinking about him all day long. And then her face became totally red, and then she said, "I don't think I can deny it any longer. The feelings inside me are surging, so I have to say it truthfully." She went completely underwater due to thinking about it again and again. After a while the maid were preparing her, and then one of the maids said, "His Highness is here to visit you, my lady." Helena was thinking about it, and then said, "Tell him to come inside." Caesar entered into the room and said, "Helena." She looked towards him and asked, "What's wrong? Why are you in such a bad mood?" He said, "Some knights were waiting around so that they can bother you. I dropped them all away." She said, "Stop scaring your subordinates." However, he was looking at her very seriously and said, "Helena, I don't want to share you with other people." After hearing this, her heart was starting to beat very fastly. He said, "I will say this one more time, but only the 3 of us are your pupils." Helena was thinking that, "You know something, Caesar. You work on eggshells around me when you are complaining. Even when you are complaining about something, you care more about me than your own feelings." And then she said, "I like you. I like you, Caesar." After hearing this, he was surprised and said, "What? You're talking about love between lovers, right? Not as a friend or a pupil." She was thinking that, "You punk, I just confessed my feelings for you." She said, "What? You want me to say it one more time?" With a childish face he said, "Yes." She smiled and said, "I like you. I like you the most, Caesar." And then he grabbed her hand and waist. Both of them came very close to each other. She said life was used to be so boring, "But not anymore." He said, "That's the most touching thing you have ever said." And then they started to kiss each other. They were doing it very intensely. After a while, Helena was sitting outside on the sofa with her father. He was drinking a tea, but then he put down the cup and said, "Helena, I summoned you because there is something I want to be sure of." She asked, "What is it, father?" "You can ask me." With a serious face he said, "Are you thinking of becoming the crown princess?" After hearing this, she was surprised for a bit, and then she said, "What?" He said, "Viscount Noct wants to know if you wish to be the crown princess. Our family will also have to walk down a new path." She started to look at the tea and thinking that, of course he is concerned. He lived a life away from politics all this time. If I become the crown princess, I will essentially be stepping into the center of politics. Being the crown princess means, it honestly did not interest me before. And then she put down her tea and said, "I can't answer that question yet because I have not received something important." Her father asked, "What do you mean?" With a smile she said, "That is a marriage proposal," and then she smiled. With a smile she said, "This is something that's still yet to come. But most of all, there is more pressing matter at the moment." And then after a while she reached to the library. Agathe was also with her. The librarian welcomed them. Agathe asked, "My lady, why did you suddenly want to visit the bookstore?" Helena was not listening at all. She was moving forward and forward. Agathe said, "My lady, is there a certain book you are looking for?" Helena said, "Yes, I need a book on magic." Agathe said, "What? But you don't know any magic." Helena looked towards her and said, "Does anyone use magic these days?" She took a book and started to read it. Agathe was peeking at it, and said, "So why do you want to buy a book on that subject?" Helena replied, "I'm thinking of gifting it to someone." But then Helena encountered a problem. She can't read the text at all. She said, "This is a problem. I need to know what they're talking about so that I can decide whether I get this as a gift or not." Agathe said, "You are right, maybe a different book would be better?" And then someone else was also present in the library. Helena was looking at the books and thinking that the other books don't look any easier. So do I need to get a recommendation from someone who is more knowledgeable about the subject? She noticed the other person, and it was a lady. Helena said, "Excuse me, I don't know much about magic, so I was wondering if I could get a book recommendation." The lady looked towards her and said, "Is that so? What kind of magic are you interested in?" And then both of them recognized each other's face. Helena said, "Lady Ulrika, I did not expect to see you here." After seeing Helena's face, with a 30 face, Ulrika said, "Me either." "Greetings, my lady, what a coincidence." Helena asked, "Are you here to buy a book too, Lady Ulrika?" She replied, "Why else would I be in a bookstore?" Helena smiled and said, "Well, I am glad you are here. Can you recommend me a book on a magic?" Ulrika turned away her face and said, "Would not it be better to ask a bookstore employee?" Helena said, "No, I want a recommendation from you because you know a lot about magic, my lady." After hearing this, Ulrika was feeling very happy. And then with a blushy face she said, "Well, yes, I do know quite a lot about magic." And then she started to pick a book for her. After looking at a certain book she said, "This book is not what most people would pick, but it's one I should recommend." She gave it to her and said, "Here you go." Helena was looking at the book and then she said, "Agathe, go pay for the book." Agathe replied, "Yes, my lady." Helena came close to Ulrika and said, "I will go ahead and present this book to its new owner right away. I was actually looking for a book to give you as a present." Ulrika was surprised and said, "What?" In a wavering voice she said, "What kind of game are you playing at?" Helena said, "Game? Okay, I like the sound of that. If I were to ask you to play, would you be game?" Helena said, "So, go on a date with me, my lady." That's all for today's video. If you want to know what happened next, then like and subscribe. Alchemy Animation YouTube channel.